When SpaceX first came up with the idea of Starship, very few people believed they would ever make it with this rocket. Many mocked them, saying they would never successfully lift off such a massive rocket from the ground. But in less than a decade, they developed and launched this rocket multiple times. Not only did they lift it off the ground, but they also successfully caught the booster returning to the launch pad. They have launched this rocket 7 times in total, and now they are ready to launch Flight 8. What's interesting about Flight 8 is that it could mark yet another major milestone in Starship's journey toward full reusability and rapid turnaround times. SpaceX is aiming for an even crazier launch cadence with Flights 8 and 9, pushing the limits of what's possible. Looking back at what SpaceX achieved late last year, on October 13th, Flight 5 marked the first successful recovery of the Super Heavy booster, using the Mechazilla arms. Just over a month later, on November 19th, SpaceX launched Flight 6, setting a new record in Starship's development with only 37 days between flights. This wasn't just a breakthrough for Starship, but an incredible feat for any rocket still in development. But if there's one thing about SpaceX, it's that they never settle. They're always striving for faster, bolder, and more ambitious goals. Now another major breakthrough might be on the horizon. Flight 8 is currently scheduled for February 28th, though delays could push it into early March. Regardless of the exact date, the focus is now entirely on this upcoming launch. SpaceX has secured an FCC license for Starship Flight 9, and one particular detail stands out. The start date of operations is listed as March 14th. Notably, the FCC license for Flight 8 began on February 24th, just 4 days before its anticipated launch. If this same pattern holds, Flight 9 could be much closer than initially expected, possibly even launching within March. If Flight 9 takes off as early as March 14th, the turnaround time from Flight 8 would be an astonishing 14 days. While that remains an optimistic scenario, even a launch on the last day of March would still be just 31 days apart, breaking last year's record. A realistic prediction could place Flight 9 around March 21st, making it less than a month after Flight 8. Regardless of the exact timing, it's looking more and more likely that SpaceX will shatter the previous 37-day turnaround record. Achieving such rapid turnaround requires extensive preparation between launches. After one launch is completed, the launch tower, including the massive Mechazilla arms, must undergo thorough inspections to check for any structural stress or wear. The fueling infrastructure must also be carefully assessed and reset to ensure optimal performance for the next launch. Any damage from the immense thrust and heat of Starship's engines must be repaired, which includes resurfacing the launch mount, refueling systems, and making sure the deluge system remains functional to handle the high-energy launches. This rapid cadence is a major step toward their ultimate goal of achieving 25 Starship flights in 2025, and eventually ramping up to 400 flights per year within the next 4 years. When compared to other operational rockets, such as NASA's SLS or ULA's Vulcan, which require long refurbishment periods between flights, Starship is leagues ahead in terms of reusability and efficiency. Even compared to SpaceX's own Falcon 9, which has achieved impressive reuse times, Starship's long-term goal of same-day reusability stands as a revolutionary leap in spaceflight capability. In the distant future, multiple Starships could be launching every single day, something no other launch provider has even come close to achieving. Many initially assumed that the next flight would involve another ocean landing for the ship, serving as a final rehearsal before attempting an actual Mechazilla catch. However, the FCC license for Flight 9 has revealed a groundbreaking possibility. The document states that both the first stage booster and the second stage will either return to the launch site or perform a water landing. This marks the first time an official document has even suggested that Starship could return to the launch site. To understand the significance of this, it's essential to compare it to Flight 8 and the challenges SpaceX has faced in perfecting Starship's recovery. Flight 8, scheduled for late February or early March, is another critical step in the program's development. It follows Flight 7, which was a crucial test but also exposed several weaknesses in Starship's re-entry and landing capabilities. During Flight 7, the upper stage of Starship reached orbit, but upon re-entry it experienced aerodynamic instability, resulting in a loss of control and a catastrophic failure before reaching a controlled splashdown. The ship's heat shield and aerodynamic control surfaces were put under extreme stress, and the flight ended in an explosion, highlighting the difficulties SpaceX still needs to overcome before achieving a fully reusable vehicle. In response to these challenges, SpaceX has made several key upgrades and modifications for Flight 8. One of the most significant improvements is in the thermal protection system. Starship's heat shield consists of thousands of hexagonal ceramic tiles, which must endure the intense heat of atmospheric re-entry. During previous flights, some of these tiles detached or were damaged due to the extreme aerodynamic forces, leading to overheating and failure. SpaceX has reinforced the attachment mechanism for these tiles and improved their durability, making them more resistant to the vibrations and pressures encountered during re-entry. Another crucial upgrade involves the aerodynamic control surfaces, or flaps. These large, movable surfaces are essential for guiding Starship's descent and ensuring a controlled landing. Flight 7 revealed that these flaps needed better actuation mechanisms and improved structural integrity. In Flight 8, SpaceX has upgraded the hydraulic systems powering these flaps. The Flight 8 plan involves Starship reaching an orbital trajectory similar to Flight 7, but with improved stability during re-entry. The booster, Super Heavy, will attempt another landing using the Mechazilla arms at the launch site, refining SpaceX's precision landing capabilities. The ultimate goal for Flight 9, as suggested by the FCC license, is to go beyond just testing re-entry and recovery. If SpaceX decides to bring Starship back to the launch site instead of opting for another ocean splashdown, it would mark the first time a fully integrated Starship system completes an end-to-end reusable mission. Meanwhile, NASA is facing serious setbacks with its most ambitious rocket project, the Space Launch System, or SLS. The SLS was originally designed to take astronauts to the Moon and eventually to Mars, but each launch costs around $4 billion, making it one of the most expensive rockets ever built. Compared to SpaceX's Starship, which aims to be fully reusable and cost only a fraction of that per launch, the SLS is looking increasingly outdated. NASA has already started looking at ways to reduce costs, but many experts believe the program is unsustainable in the long run. There are reports that Boeing, the primary contractor for NASA's Space Launch System, recently gathered its employees working on the program and warned them about potential job cuts. According to recent sources, Boeing informed workers that the future of the SLS program is uncertain, and large-scale layoffs could happen if funding and support for the rocket decrease. Adding to the uncertainty, repeated delays and budget overruns have plagued the SLS since its inception. The Artemis II mission, originally scheduled for 2024, has been pushed back, and Artemis III, which aims to land astronauts on the Moon, is also facing delays. With Starship advancing at an unprecedented pace, NASA might be forced to rethink its long-term strategy. If Starship proves reliable, it could completely replace the need for SLS. That's all for today's video. Thanks for watching.